There may be more cells in your body that do not carry human DNA than cells that do. The balance is so close that a trip to the bathroom can shift it. That sounds like the setup for a science fiction story, but it is a counting problem. Your body contains tens of trillions of human cells and a similar number of bacterial cells. So are you only half human? By one very narrow measurement, approximately. By almost every other sensible measurement, no. The interesting part is not the slogan. It is what that slogan reveals about the living system you call your body. For years, books, lectures, and health articles repeated a much more dramatic claim. Microbes outnumber human cells 10 to 1. Sometimes the ratio became 100 to 1. It sounded authoritative because it was repeated everywhere, but the number came from rough estimates made with limited data. In 2016, researchers Ron Sender, Shai Fuchs, and Ron Milo rebuilt the calculation organ by organ and cell type by cell type. Their estimate for a 70-kilogram reference adult was about 38 trillion bacterial cells and 30 trillion human cells. That gives a bacterial to human ratio of roughly 1.3 to 1, not 10 to 1. Even that is not a permanent personal score. Bodies differ in size, blood volume, age, anatomy, and colon contents. The researchers estimated substantial variation between people. They also noted that one bowel movement can reduce the contents of the colon by roughly a quarter to a third. Since the colon holds most of the body's bacteria, you could cross the imaginary 50% line before breakfast and cross back after using the toilet. Biology is not impressed by neat slogans. The count is misleading in another way. Cells are not standard-sized Lego bricks. A bacterium is tiny compared with a muscle cell or a fat cell. Human cell numbers are dominated by red blood cells, which are small and extremely abundant. Human body mass, meanwhile, is dominated by much larger cells and by material outside cells. All those bacterial cells together were estimated to weigh around 200 grams. So no, half of your body weight is not microbes. The microbial part is closer to the weight of a large apple. Most of those cells are not spread evenly through you. They are not holding meetings in your liver, floating happily through healthy blood, or filling your brain. The overwhelming majority live in the colon, where food moves slowly, oxygen is scarce, and nutrients remain available. Smaller communities occupy the mouth, skin, nose, and reproductive tract. Dental plaque on one tooth can be crowded with bacteria, but the mouth still contributes less than 1% of the total bacterial count found in the colon. Behind your ear is one habitat. The damp fold of your inner elbow is another. The tongue, gums, nostrils, stool, and skin each select for different organisms. The Human Microbiome Project sampled hundreds of healthy adults across many such body sites and found that location matters enormously. The microbes on a person's tongue are more like other tongue communities than like the microbes living on that same person's skin. It is less like carrying one microbial population and more like hosting several neighborhoods with different climates. Two words are often mixed together here. The microbiota are the organisms themselves, bacteria, archaea, fungi, and other microbes living in a particular place. The microbiome can mean those organisms plus their genes and the surrounding ecological system. Viruses are part of the wider picture too, including viruses that infect bacteria. The famous cell count comparison mostly concerns bacteria because bacterial cells dominate the measurable microbial population. It does not count every viral particle as another tiny resident with voting rights. A spoonful of lentils reaches your colon, containing carbohydrates that your own digestive enzymes cannot fully break apart. Gut microbes can ferment some of that material and release short-chain fatty acids, including acetate, propionate, and butyrate. Colon cells can use butyrate as an energy source. Other microbial products interact with the gut wall, the liver, and immune cells. You ate the lentils, but part of the chemical work was outsourced to organisms whose genomes are not human. You can see this in a boring way too. Change what reaches the colon, and the microbial community responds. A controlled nature study published in 2014 found that switching people between strongly plant-based and animal-based diets altered microbial activity and composition within days. It was a small experiment, not a universal meal plan, but it showed how quickly the system can react. Dinner is not merely feeding you. It is changing the working conditions of a dense ecosystem several meters into your digestive tract. The immune system also grows up in conversation with microbes. It has to attack genuine threats without launching a war against every harmless organism, food molecule, or piece of pollen. Microbial signals help shape immune development and regulation, especially early in life. This relationship is not peaceful in the sentimental sense. The body produces mucus, antimicrobial molecules, and antibodies. Microbes compete, adapt, and sometimes exploit weakness. Stability comes from constant negotiation, not from everyone being friendly. A healthy microbial community can also make life harder for invaders. Resident microbes occupy physical space, consume nutrients, alter acidity, and sometimes produce substances that inhibit competitors. Scientists call this colonization resistance. Picture a nearly full parking lot outside a supermarket. An unwanted newcomer has fewer spaces and fewer resources available. That metaphor is imperfect because microbes can also cooperate, exchange genes, and modify the whole environment. Still, crowded territory matters. Antibiotics make the relationship easier to notice because they can disturb it. The medicine may be essential for killing a dangerous bacterium, but it can also remove susceptible members of the normal community. An opportunist may then expand into the cleared space. Clostridioides difficile is a serious example. After antibiotic treatment, this bacterium can multiply in the colon, release toxins, and cause severe diarrhea and inflammation. Recurrent infections can return after another course of antibiotics. And yes, this gets messy fast. The response sounds almost absurd until the mechanism is clear. Restore a microbial community to stop one organism from repeatedly taking over. In 2022 and 2023, the United States Food and Drug Administration approved microbiota-based products for preventing recurrent C. difficile infection after antibacterial treatment. One is delivered rectally. Another is taken as capsules and is manufactured from carefully screened donated human stool. This is regulated medical treatment for a specific condition, not a reason to copy a procedure from a forum post or kitchen tutorial. The microbiome is powerful enough to matter medically, but that does not mean every claim about it is true. Search online and you can find a company willing to analyze a small stool sample, produce a colorful wheel of bacterial names, and recommend supplements or foods. A recent international consensus statement warned that many direct-to-consumer microbiome tests still lack proven value for clinical decisions. The sample may describe some organisms present in that stool on that day. Turning it into a diagnosis, or a perfect personalized diet, is a much bigger leap. There is no single list of bacteria that defines a healthy person. The Human Microbiome Project found large differences between healthy individuals. Two people can carry different species, while their communities perform some similar metabolic functions. Your own microbial pattern may remain more similar to itself over time than to someone else's, yet medications, infections, travel, diet, hormones, and bowel transit can shift it. Not always dramatically, of course. A sandwich does not reboot your biology. This uncertainty matters when headlines claim that one microbe causes depression, obesity, intelligence, cravings, or personality. Many studies find associations. People with a condition have a different average microbial pattern from people without it. That is useful evidence, but it does not automatically reveal direction. The illness may change diet or medication use, which changes the microbiome. A third factor may influence both. Animal experiments can test mechanisms, but mice are not small humans with convenient laboratory schedules. So what does half human mean? It means that if you count cells and treat every cell as one unit, bacterial cells can be about as numerous as human cells. It does not mean half your mass is foreign. It does not mean microbes control half your thoughts. It does not mean the human genome has been replaced, and the border is fuzzy anyway. Mitochondria inside most human cells descend from ancient bacteria that entered a partnership with other cells more than 1 billion years ago. Today, we classify mitochondria as part of us. Your microbes are also not permanent citizens with passports. Some lineages remain for years. Others pass through with food, arrive from other people, disappear after medication, or fluctuate below detection. You shed them onto towels, phones, door handles, and the rim of a coffee mug. At the same time, your body chooses where they can live through temperature, oxygen, immune pressure, mucus, skin oils, and the nutrients it provides. You are the habitat, but the habitat is active. Calling a human a superorganism can be useful, though it can also become another slogan. You still have one nervous system, one developmental plan, and one body whose human cells carry the genome inherited from your parents. Yet that body was never designed to operate in complete microbial isolation. Digestion, immune training, protection from pathogens, and the chemistry of the gut all depend partly on relationships with other forms of life. The better conclusion is not that you are only half a person. It is that a person is not a sealed object. You are an organism whose boundaries include an ecosystem, tens of trillions of tiny partners, competitors, passengers, and occasional troublemakers. Count the cells, and the result may be close to 50-50. Look at how the system works, and the answer is more interesting. Being fully human has always included living with the non-human world inside us.
Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. See you in the next one!